Okay, so there's been news, of course. I say of course because unfortunately it isn't terribly surprising that at the UEFA football events, in this case in Marseille, there has been scenes of trouble between hooligans from various countries. Now, a few things I want to say. I don't believe in politically correct language on this, so I don't believe in calling them fans. I call them hooligans because that's what they are. Um, there's a lot of reports going on. I don't know exactly how the trouble started, but it looks like there's three main groups involved: the Russians, the French, and the English football hooligans. Um, and it's got pretty ugly. There has been violent clashes on the streets of Marseille, um, and at least one person is now in a life-threatening condition. An England fan. This is crazy. That someone could potentially have their life lost over a sporting event. What the hell? Football, of course, has a long history of trouble. There was even a war at one point fought over football called the Soccer War. I forget the two countries involved. It was two Central American countries. It's either the late 60s or early 70s. But, and needless to say, in the UK, we've had a very long history of football hooligan trouble. Within the UK, I think the situation has significantly improved since the 70s, 80s, and 90s. That was sort of the peak time of football hooliganism, but it's very far from gone. And I think the potential is always there. Other countries have a very serious problem. Egypt has a big problem. Russia obviously has a problem. France has a problem. I think, to be honest, wherever football is very popular, there will be at least some hooligan factions. Italy has a long history of it. So certainly by no means England is not the only one. I would argue today England isn't even anywhere near the worst. Some of the Turkish hooligans are complete psychopaths. Um, so this is an international problem. It's true that in the 70s and 80s it was known as the English or the British disease. There's Scottish factions as well, but it is an international problem. And what's interesting is a lot of the focus on UEFA, because it's such a big event, was on security over a potential terrorist attack. And that's completely understandable. There was indeed a far right terrorist arrested for having a haul of weapons. But it looks like this was the other big issue that I'm not going to accuse the French authorities of not being prepared because I don't know. But perhaps they. What I don't understand is when trouble has broken out in previous events, the individuals responsible in this country were given a lifetime ban. Now, either this is a new group of hooligans or they've just flouted that and the airport security hasn't been for it enough. I do believe in lifetime bans, and I also believe that those who have been involved in the violence should serve a prison sentence here. I'm not talking about years, but at least a length of time to show that we are not going to allow our national image to be embarrassed in this way. Now, as I understand it, Russia has tough hooliganism laws, so I hope when the Russian hooligans go back, the Russian state will severely punish them. Um, Apparently, a hardcore group of 20 were going around looking for England fans to beat up and even kill. These people, in my opinion, are scum. And I just don't buy the sort of social science argument, say, oh, they're frustrated young men with nothing to do. A few disclaimers here, or a few points that need to be raised. There's this perception that hooligans are always working class lads who are angry with the world and that explains their behaviour. More often than not, hooligans have actually been from professions. There have been examples of firefighters, teachers, businessmen involved in football related violence. So I think we need to get away from this idea that it's always unemployed, angry young men. Sometimes they're older, sometimes they are in professional jobs, and very, very occasionally, sometimes they are women. The vast majority are male, but you do get female troublemakers as well, although that is a very small minority in this case. Um, but completely support the Marseille police. The only thing I would say is that I hope no innocent people are caught up and falsely accused of being hooligans. That is a side effect of this. Sometimes when you have a big crowd of troublemakers, you might get genuine supporters who are just there to watch a sporting event and they're in the wrong place at the wrong time and they get caught up. I hope that doesn't happen because that would be a horrible situation to go through. To be arrested for something you haven't done, to be attacked by another side simply because of the colours you're wearing, and then be slandered in the press as a hooligan. So we need to be careful that, um, the French police need to be careful that they are arresting people who are genuinely causing trouble. I'm not, by the way, suggesting they aren't, but mistakes can be made. But for those who are causing trouble and for those who are going there to cause trouble, I have no sympathy with them, none whatsoever. It's my understanding that French prisons are pretty tough, especially in Marseille. So, you reap what you sow. If you go to an event to cause trouble, I have no sympathy with you, none. In fact, there's footage of it right now. I'll just show you in the background. The report's changed to the Queen's 90th birthday. But basically, yeah, it's really a pity. Football gets far more of this than any other sport, although occasionally you do get it in boxing, in ice hockey, in cricket, in the case of sometimes in India and Pakistan, trouble breaks out. But it seems that the majority of sport and related violence is in the sport of football. Now, that could partly be explained because it is the biggest sport, but I'm not a fan of football, but I'm open minded enough to know that the vast majority of fans don't behave this way. And it would be unfortunate if football's overall image was ruined by a minority, but a strong minority of violent losers. Um, this is the thing. There's nothing. It's not. You're not a big man if you join a mob and go around just causing mayhem. That's not being a man. That's being a stupid bastard who has lost self control, or who doesn't care about having self control. There's nothing manly about that whatsoever. Sure, you may be on the steroids, you may be intimidating, you may smash up cafes and beat the hell out of another low life, but that does nothing for you whatsoever. There's no honor in that. There's nothing whatsoever to make you look in any way like um I'm not even going to say someone that the public should sympathise with, because I understand the hooligan mindset. They don't care. They just don't care. So it's pointless even trying to send out a message to them. But I think they're scum, and the reason I say that is not because they're causing violence, but because they don't care about the consequences of damaging people's property, of dragging innocent people into it, and almost inevitably innocent people do get caught up in this. Um, it sickens me, and you're a weak card if you cannot control your own actions and you only behave that way when you're in a big mob. What does that say about you? It says that you're a weak card. You may have muscles, you may be good at fighting in that circumstance, but it also suggests you're a card because you rely on numbers in order to do what you're doing. And that is, you think you're soldiers, you're not soldiers. You're nothing but thugs. So I completely support the police cracking down hard on those who actually are causing violence. I hope no innocent people are falsely accused of it. But in my opinion, anyone who has been identified as a hooligan needs to be given a lifetime ban. Um, it needs to be a fair trial. It can't just be on rumor. There needs to be evidence that they have been behaving in a violent way, video footage and so on. But in such circumstances, they should be given a lifetime ban. And I really do believe that because they, having their word, oh, we'll behave next time, it's not good enough. They can't be trusted. Um, so fuck them. I have contempt for hooligans. I think they're losers, basically. And it's anyone, by the way, commenting on this video, oh, you're a fag or you're this or that. Fuck you. Um, I'm not going to give you a platform. I'll remove your comment. And that's it. Um, and I just don't agree with the social sort of left wing arguments for them that they're kind of unleashing their attention. To hell with that. A lot of people go through pressure in life and through depression. I've went through chronic depression. I've went through angriness. Uh, I've went through anger and loneliness. It doesn't mean I'm going to take it out on some stranger that I've never met just because he's wearing another color from another team. That's crazy. It's just crazy mob behavior. And yeah, let me know your thoughts.